elsewhere they buy it. That represents 63% of our budget. Categorical would be the ARA money, the IDEA funds, the competitive grants that we're able to secure from state and federal sources. That constitutes about 16% of our budget. Occupational education is the career and technical ed schools, 12%, and the core budget represents administration, curriculum development, business office services, and that represents 9%. Let's just go back. What we need from the O&J Roberts Board, please, is a vote on our budget, hopefully in the affirmative, to be adopted by April the 30th for the core, June 30th for the OCC-Ed. Marketplace services, you buy what you want. So service contracts approvals are executed by June 30th, 2011 for next year. And categorical services, no actions are required. Those grants have already been booked or cut. What do we do? Well, our board adopted several years ago that we need to act within the Act 1 parameters. It's been the highest priority of the CCIU Board of Directors. One of the things we did was to consolidate all our special education programs into a single student services division. It used to be 2 divisions. Actually, it was 2 divisions spread across 3 divisions. We've now pulled it all together into one. The objective being to be more efficient, more cost effective in the use of our available resources. We're also always charged with finding new and alternative revenue sources. We're trying to expand our program services across the Commonwealth, delivered via BAIU-Net, which is the entire state internet based for educational delivery. Innovation Institute programs have been selling, and we're pleased to continue selling them. Brandywine Virtual Academy, I came from a presentation today to Montgomery County Schools. This is a partnership between us and the other IUs, and we think we're going to get at least 10 Montgomery County schools to purchase Brandywine Virtual Academy. That provides an alternative revenue source. It's also good for districts. It's a viable alternative to cyber charter schools. So when they're spending $10,000 to $12,000, they can pick up the same program for $4,000 or $5,000 from us. We always aggressively pursue whatever grant funding is out there, and we are expanding our service offerings to other counties because everything we can sell outside the county is able to benefit Chester County. What else have we done? Well, we indirect costs. That's sort of what we survive on. That's our operating costs. We've eliminated them for the OCC-Ed budget. That's been our toughest budget. That's where our schools are. It's hard, as you know, to control schools' costs because you have contracts and PSERs, healthcare benefits, etc. There's $1 million annual expenditure reduction for the 4th consecutive year. We eliminated that. We had to eliminate or consolidate instructional and support staff positions. Table of organization is modified by 65.31. We're actually up to over 80 now. We just had a new go-round right after this happened. And once again, a consolidation in special education. The estimated savings are $3.83 million. As of this point, they're well over $4 million now. We used $1.547 million in fund balance to reduce the core and OCC-Ed budget impact. We did an excellent energy procurement management program, and we did an in-depth study to identify and prioritize cost savings opportunities, much as I'm sure you have, looking at everything we could do to cut. Here's some examples. You see the areas we're fishing in, the categories that were identified, total of 55 categories spread throughout. Projected savings for this year alone are $570,000. That has already been acted upon. Those cuts have been made. And looking through the next 3 years, we anticipate another $713,000 in cuts. So these are just looking at travel, meetings, contracted services, basically anything we could to reduce costs. One of the things our board asked us to do is not take any exceptions, so our 1.4% increase is totally flat. We took no special ed exceptions and no growth exceptions, none of the legally allowed exceptions because our board asked us not to. Chester County, well, we always try to work together with other school districts, and these are some things that have really benefited everybody. Joe will come on and show you exactly how it's benefited O&J Roberts in specific terms. But across the county, the Joint Purchasing Board has resulted in $3.6 million in annual savings and reductions in administrative burden. We were able to sponsor a 6-county budget summit, the first in the Commonwealth, to develop best practices. You're going to hear about them occurring all across the state next week, and we were the model that they're using. In fact, they're using our templates to conduct these budget summits all across the Commonwealth using the Chester County model that was developed by superintendents. We have electric procurement programs that have resulted in $5.7 million in savings, and we'll show you some hard numbers on that. And the healthcare consortium that's really been doing very wonderful, knock on wood, $3.9 million year-to-date savings for districts that switched to self-funding in 2010 and 11, and with $6.2 million savings for prescription drug programs. Joe Dubitsky is heading up the Act 32 Tax Collection Services Committee. This is an example of a service we provide that brings in some general assistance to Chester County school districts and also all Chester County municipalities. So if you're just looking at school districts, it's $288,414 in savings, but when you consider it all together, it's $927,681 for schools and our Chester County municipalities. I'll turn this over to medical benefits. Joe's done the bulk of the work on this block.
Thank you. Controlling our medical benefit costs has been one of the primary reasons we believe we've been able to stay within the Act 1 index and deliver some fiscally sound budgets. This board has seen some version of this chart over the last several years, and I'm happy that the trend continues in terms of being positive outcomes for the intermediate unit. What this represents is a comparison between the independent Blue Cross fully insured medical product in the tall blue columns, and that's the annual increases that districts were faced with in a fully insured product. Intermediate units being self-funded can determine its own budgeted amounts. And the green column represents what annually we have budgeted. And then the positive part is the white columns, which is our actual outcomes. And you can see in the last 3 years, we have actually finished under budget. That has allowed us to budget more and more conservatively, so that this year's budget, instead of a 30% increase, which was proposed by Blue Cross at this time last year, we budgeted 2%, and so far we're running about 9% under budget. So next year, we've only proposed to build a 2% budget, 2% increase into our budget once again. Ojrsd Roberts, this time last year was wrestling whether to go self-funding and whether not to. There's several reasons why I think you should be pleased with that decision. One is this year, Blue Cross's annual increase to the fully insured districts in the surrounding counties were 26%. And if you look at the year-to-date results on what you would have been paying on a per person per month basis versus in the blue columns, through December, it was about $960 per person per month, and so far it's been a $774, significant savings. This shows you the comparison of all the school districts that went from fully insured last year to self-insured this year. You have to look at that over a longer period of time, but it's nice to get out of the gate in a positive manner. So I feel that's positive. Prescription drugs, probably the second area of highest cost in healthcare. And again, here we've had some significant success, not only in the self-funding situation, but also working together with school districts. This is an area that we combined with a number of school districts in this area and negotiated a very aggressive contract with our pharmacy benefit manager, CVS Caremark. The resulting discounts and rebates that we're achieving are allowing us to budget again very conservatively, and also we're on track to finish significantly under budget. Just the slide there. We're significantly under budget. Not only has this triggered helped us, but it's also helped the districts who remain with Independence Blue Cross or Express Scripts, and has forced those two providers to match those discount levels, so everyone is benefiting from that contract. Some bad news. You probably have seen this in your Finance Committee meetings. It's the impact of the changes in the property assessments in Chester County, specifically the negative impact of lack of development, slowdown in development, and property appeals, tax appeals. Ojrsd Roberts, this is a snapshot. Back in 2004-05, the natural growth in the tax base in Ojrsd Roberts generates revenue for the school district. Also generates new students and challenges for more transportation, more buildings, and things like that. but the tax base expansion does generate more revenue. In 0405, probably in the neighborhood of about $1.3 million. You can see over the last 2 years, because again, the slowdown in development and appeals, it's really been flat, very small growth. So again, that's a challenge for budgeting. It's forcing districts and the IU to work together in a lot of different areas to save money. How we respond to that, Dr. O'Brien mentioned several of these. The tax collection services, that was really brought on by Act 32 in the consolidation of tax collectors. We put out a request for proposal. It was very competitive. Keystone Collection Agency was selected, and the savings on an annual basis would be close to $1 million for municipalities and school districts within Chester County. The Electricity Consortium, there's actually 3 different consortiums that work together. You can see the significant savings over a 3-year period based on when they bought in and when they bought out. This is where an area where we had anticipated increases of 10, 15, 20% based on what other parts of the state were experiencing. We were very surprised, and most people, pleasantly surprised, that most people the districts are saving 10 to 15% per kilowatt hour, and it really adds up. The joint purchasing board that is operated by the Chester County School District is really modeled in Pennsylvania. And this is not something that the IU can take full credit for. It's people like Mrs. Crumron, Mr. Galley, Mr. Rozak, and many other folks from around the districts who spend a lot of time making sure this works. Very detailed bid specifications, detailed analysis of the bid submissions, just a significant amount of work. You can see the major bid categories and the savings that we're looking at $3.6 million and how that breaks down for each of the participants. Ojrsd Roberts, looking close to $400,000 in savings in several different areas. Going on to the core budget, Dr. O'Brien mentioned there's no change in the district contributions next year in our proposed budget. You can see the divisions that make up the core administration budget. Our current budget is $17.1 million. Our proposed budget was actually a $612,000 decrease to $16.5 million. Significant changes found on page 28 of the budget document. Salaries are really no significant increase, 0.8%. I talked about the benefit programs. You can see the savings in this particular budget. We do have 2 new positions or reclassifications of positions. Supplies and equipment. Our debt service payments have been reduced dramatically. We took advantage of a Build America Bonds program and the historical low interest rates as we financed the new Technical College High School for Brandywine campus that's now under construction. We've eliminated the administrative fees from the occupational education budget, those indirect costs, and we also have lowered or reduced fees in other programs to over $300,000, and then changes in all other areas, 5.5% reduction. So it adds up to a $612,000 reduction in our proposed budget for next year. This is an overview of the member school districts in Chester County. Your contributions are a function of our overall budget and also your aid ratio, and it's a formula that's determined by the Department of Education, also involves your enrollment. With that, I turn it over to Dr. Ryan to discuss the occupational education budget.
Thank you. You can see right there says the summary sheet. The budget is up 1.4%. That is the countywide index. 10-11 budget was $22,239,000. The 11-12 proposed budget is $22,559,000, an increase of $319,784. Primarily driven by an increase in enrollment. We have a 3-year average enrollment, which enables districts to do their budget planning, so that you're going to have sudden spikes and sudden drops. But last year, the 3-year average enrollment was 912.9 full-time equivalent students. And as you can see, for 11-12, that is up to 977.152 FTEs, a 7% change with a 1.4% budgetary increase. I'll hit that a couple times, 7% more students, 1.4% budgetary increase. It's just a trend of enrollment going back to 2002-2003 school year. You can see that in 2008 and 2009, when the third Career and Technical Education School opened in Chester County. Enrollment spiked to 951, 1,008, and now 972. Now this is an increase of 24% in student enrollment since 2007, 2008. I want to remind you that we talk in full-term equivalents, but there's nearly 1,650 students at the 3 Chester County centers. Some kids go for 0.25, half a day, third of the day, etc. Ojrsd Roberts, this is your student enrollment knock-in, and it's increased by 49% since 2004, 2005. Your students are experiencing great success in our career and technical education program, and they're just as good in our schools as they are in your schools when they come. So we're really pleased to have it at the OJR student, but you can see once again, 113, 119, 118, your enrollment's up for the 3-year average. Significant changes. We have salaries from existing staff representing a 4.3% increase of $400,335. Medical benefits for this staff, they go up 1.3%. Other employee benefits, PSERS, etc., up 4.3%. We had to take some reductions in positions, so we reduced 5.2 positions. We eliminated a guidance counselor position, 2 full-time support staff, 1 full-time professional instructor, and 1 full-time secretary. That comes out to 5.2 overall. We also incurred some debt service for the new school of $147,168. The change in all other budget areas was 0.1%, $3,500. So the total change in the OCAD budget is $319,784, 1.4%. This is a very busy slide. I believe the next slide is going to pull out Ojrsd Roberts. But I'd like to give this slide to you because I think everybody likes to compare. So how are we doing compared to this neighbor, that neighbor, etc. So if you're interested in what Phoenixville's doing, it's up there to see. As you can see, Ojrsd Roberts is right in the yellow stripe in the middle, and you're up 11.6% enrollment growth, and you're up, looks like 3-year average is 116.752. The cost for a half-time student is $9,784. It's down the box at the bottom. The full-time tuition rate would be $19,500, and the projected tuition rate change is 1.4%. So what's this look like? Here's Ojd's actual contribution rate. The top in the black is the 1011. Your FTE for the previous 3 years was 86.1, 113.0, and 118.89. 3-year average was 106. The tuition rate was 19,298. So there was your budget of $2,046,000. When you come down to the blue, the proposed budget represents, you drop off that 86 and 113, 118, and 118 again, divided by 3. So your average 3-year average has increased over 10 students times the tuition rate was 2.284. So your percentage change is 11.6%, primarily driven by an increase in enrollment, and the amount change is $238,250. We go through Marketplace 2. As I said, we have multiple budgets at the IU. We have 80 programs projected in 2011, 2012. We have to discontinue 12 programs. You see them listed there. You usually discontinue because districts aren't interested in them. They're not cost effective. We try to analyze all programs, and we try to cut as well as add. We like to add programs that have growth potential, can be revenue enhancers, and cut programs that are not serving students or serving districts, not making any money to help. So in addition to 12 programs discontinued, we're adding 7 new programs: the Chester County Tax Collection Committee, a Head Start program, Migrant Out of School Enrichment program, the Pennsylvania Computer Fair, a school refusal behavioral program which several districts have asked us to run. We've taken $5.169 million in fund balance allocated to 10 programs and $2.3 million in reduced internal charges to programs. That has resulted in a net decrease in the budget of $1,435,000, 1.2%. We run 405 total pricing programs, if you will. There's no change in price, zeros, and 230 of them. 4 have a price decrease. We have 12 new services, so we had to price them accordingly. There's 118 and a price increase of 1.4% or below, and then the price increase of over 1.4% includes 41 programs. Most of the price increases over 1.4 are like 1.6, 1.7. We have a couple of adult programs where we have increased the prices by 4 to 5% because there's high demand and there's an opportunity for us to make some money in a private pay adult market. The average price increase for our marketplace services is 0.84% for 2011 and 12. How did we do it? Well, salaries existing staff went down 0.09%. Employee benefits went up 1%, 1.6 to 203,000. We did add some new positions here. One part-time cafeteria worker, 0.3 position for $5,000. 2 instructional coaches and 1 access clerk. This is funded through access money. Medical access money is a great way to save some money for a district, and it also involves a heck of a lot of paperwork that we have to do, so we need an access clerk. Access monies do not come from school districts, they come from Medicare. We have 1 school refusal program teacher, a 0.53 full-time equivalent, once again requested by the districts and will be paid by the districts. We eliminated Vision Quest program. It was an excellent program, but simply wasn't cutting it. That resulted in a savings of $1.28 million. And we cut 1% out of our service supplies and equipment line item, $454,000, and 2.15%. All other budget areas, $181,000. The net decrease is $1.435 million down. Once again, we got to look at what does that mean to O&J. So what we do is we take what you bought last year and we extrapolate that what would happen if you purchased the same things from us. So your core budget up top is 0 because it remains the same. The OCAD budget is increasing $238,250, and the marketplace services, if you buy exactly what you bought last year, will be $78,642 or a 2.5% increase. Overall, your budget for Chester County IU goes up $316,892 or 6%. Sorry, let me get back up. And now, do you have any questions or any comments or any heartburn? We'll try to address it.
May I ask this question? Absolutely. We're increasing $316,000 for approximately 30%. Is that correct?
You're on the OCAD?
Yeah.
No, for OCAD, it would be 10 students,
So
about
approximately
238,000. That was the largest part of your projecting.
10 students is 23, but then we show 19 here. Okay, I'm confused.
Well, this is just the OCAD portion of the budget.
Okay.
And then if you go up to the last drop slide, Joe.
Do you have this, Mr. Friesen? So it's 10 full-time equivalent students at the rate of $19,568, right? Okay. Now, going back to the marketplace. There.
That last slide is a summary of all.
This is everything.
This is everything. Okay. So
OCAD's up top.
Yeah, bulk of it's OCAD.
Yeah, 238,000 is your increase in OCAD.
The marketplace has really trended based on the last several market periods, and that can change. It changes some of the services on a week-to-week basis. So we work with Scrumline and our staff to give you the best projection models we can.
So,
Hopefully get the changes.
I guess when you're showing like cost per student, you multiply the students and what the budget area will be estimated. That's my student differences. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Just wanted to,
Try to pull it together. Any other questions?
Do you measure percent of students who attend the CCIU from each district? I saw you had the raw numbers of each number of students that attend from each district, but do you have a percent of total enrollment that attends the CCIU from each district?
We actually do. I don't have it with me, but you're talking about like if you have 3,500 kids, what percentage would be? Yes, we have that number in our OCAD. We can get that for you, but we don't have it tonight. We service 52,000 students a year,
But that's you gotta be careful with that number, because if we have a student who's in Occ Ed and then later comes back for Shakespeare, that same student would count as two. So there's a double counting. But each year, 52,000 students at Chester County receive services from the IU.
Hi, Joe.
Hey.
Joe. But out of that, 118 are our students, out of our population of almost 5,000. Is that correct?
Just in the occupational education program, you have 118 students
Okay.
out of the 1,600 students that are on the 3 campuses. You have students in dozens of other programs.
Okay, so that's our full-time kids that go there for both core academics and their specialty.
Cat Pickering, I think almost all of your students are full-time at Cat Pickering.
Okay, okay. And that would be the 118 then?
That's right.
Okay. And out of that, then, that's that Occ Ed, which means it's less, and my math is bad tonight, but it would be about 10th? No, half a percentage? Out of 5,000? And then we have the marketplace services, which we use in all of those things.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're close, yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about percentage of kids who were in this program.
Right.
Versus, that's sort of what Doug was saying.
Right, and we have approximately 5,000 students in our student body.
Now,
You could have
These are high
students-
school.
Right.
yeah, that's high school only. You
Right.
would have a significant number receiving special education services, in various programs. You could have students at CDC. We could probably pull that together if you wanted to see where your kids are.
Well, I think this gives you a general number, and then there's the other, because you're plugging in here and there and all the other services.
We may provide a student with half hour, several hours of therapy per week in one of the classrooms or
Sure.
buildings, or something, or something.
Mhm. And the 118 is just the kids that actually travel to your program
Right.
and actually graduate from your program or hope to graduate from your program. Right.
And just to try, not to try to muddy the waters, but 118.898, that's like the average family has 2.6 kids.
Right.
Obviously, when you get a number like that, don't forget you have some kids who are there not full-time.
Right, right,
So
exactly.
you may have, making this number up, you may have 140 kids
Right.
who represent 118.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Just
Yeah,
to
did
make
that.
it more clear, for regular and special ed, we have different prices to educate a child here in Ojrsd. We usually go 10,000 for regular and 20 for special ed, and I see that yours is an average of close to 20. But I guess you don't really have a distinction between regular ed and special ed. Most of your
Wait.
students have special services.
Right, most of the students have special services, but I need to be honest with you, career and technical ed, they're more expensive students to begin with, which is why they're done as a countywide consortium. The equipment is a monster cost. You start talking about the automobile shops, the paint shops, the welding, those kinds of career vocational education programs, they cost a fortune for supplies. But we're actually pretty proud that the $19,000 figure is close to what some districts pay. Well, if you're Lower Merion, it's what they pay for a regular ed student, but most districts in Chester County will pay for a special needs student. And we don't differentiate.
Mrs. Andrew, maybe that calculation you're referring to is provided by the Department of Education. I know sometimes that calculation removes certain cost components. It's how you determine a charter school, that kind of thing. You remove debt service, some of the transportation. Generally, if you try to compare high school students' cost per year in Chester County, it runs anywhere from, I think, 13,000 to 14,000 to 20,000. That's a rough calculation.
Right, it's something that isn't from my first year on education, what the costs are, and I think it's what people know, support. It is expensive.
Oh, yeah, very expensive. All of education is.
Just a little question, actually. The summer academies that I saw that you, are you still going to have the other things where the kids can go there and buy services?
Yes, we're offering summer academies. Some will be free, and some will be for pay to play.
Okay.
And we did, we run the science fair. There's a lot of when you look at the core budget, we do most of the events in Chester County, such as the Shakespeare Festival, Chester County Spelling Bee, the science fairs, the academic team bowl competition are run by Chester County and run out of that budget.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Thank you, President Stone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Bryan.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Levinsky. Bye-bye, thank you. That brings us to item 6 on the agenda, opportunity for public comment on agenda items, information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of resident, and the item on the agenda to which your comments are addressed. I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Brian Hood, and it's New Country Township. My first question is regarding 8.9, policy 008A. I went and looked at that policy, and there was a couple things that stuck out that I wanted to ask you about. Some of the staffing for the elementary schools. I looked at West Vincent had 14.85 teacher aides, and North Coventry had 9.79. I was just wondering the discrepancy there because there was less students in West Vincent, and also North Coventry is a Title I school. Special education at West Vincent is 6.2, but yet at North Coventry it's 5.10, and I'm just bringing that up because the country is Title I. And then I wanted to know about 5.41 clerical for the high school. And then my other question is for 12.4, the calendar. First one was the LMP meeting, committee meeting. It was asked at the end of the meeting how much money the district's going to save by starting early. Did we ever get a figure for that?
Didn't we estimate like $15,000?
Yeah. I believe when we did this before, the estimate was around $15,000. Because we're coordinating the mostly because we're coordinating the transportation with the IU. That's for basic savings.
And then a question about the May 15th date on the calendar. And I just wanted to find out if that was coincident with Election Day.
It's an IU staff development day. It's consistent with the IU calendar, it's an IU staff development day.
So are we still going to have some of the elementary schools closed for Election Day? Because that's, for a presidential election, it's the 4th Tuesday in April. Thanks.
The difference in the instructional aids is likely attributable to the child-specific aids at West Vincent, which are associated with the special education programs there. You might break that out. Autistic.
I would expect the special education to be higher with Coventry than West Vincent. I mean, just because it being a Title I school.
They house our autistic program.
There's autistic-wide special needs programs at West Vincent.
Okay.
That's why there's a concentration
So-
of special needs aides
All right.
at West Vincent.
And then, I guess the teacher aides, that's higher for less students.
Right. And the autistic support program typically has, I mean, almost a one-to-one ratio to teacher aides being very prominent in that program. And we don't have similar nationwide programs in most countries, so it's much more personnel intensive.
So the line item on this isn't, it's general saying teachers' aides, but then there's specific building aides and one-on-one aides that are grouped together as in teacher aides. So the one-on-one aides required for the autistic program at West Vincent requires more personnel aides, but they might not be building aides. They may be one-on-one child-specific aides required by a child's IEP.
Okay. Just looking at the chart, that's.
Right, if you didn't associate that program with that school, that's what you would think.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bud. All right, that brings us to item 7 on the agenda, board committee reports. I'd like to report that there was a meeting of the Committee of the Whole held on March 14th at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. The following committees met during this section: extracurricular and interscholastic, building and grounds, curriculum and instruction, and pupil services. We will now review individual committees that may have met outside of the Cal structure. If you did not meet as a committee, it is okay to say no report. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Kleinfelder?
There was not a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting in March. The next Buildings and Grounds meeting is Monday, April 4th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom in the Administration Building.
Thank you, Mr. Kleinfelder. Chester County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Barkas?
The March CCIU Board Meeting of Directors was held on March 16th, 2011 at the CCIU Educational Service Center in Downingtown. I'll let their presentations speak for themselves as what we've been doing. A few things I want to just hit on. 80 programs are projected to be offered in 2011-2012. 12 programs are being discontinued and 7 new programs are being added. That's all within that number of 80. We will be voting on that budget, the IU Board of Directors, on April 27th. We received a presentation of the Brandywine Virtual Academy and the ability for districts to use that cyber school option to retain students within the district instead of losing them to cyber charter schools and other charter schools. The IU Board of Directors approved a renewal of Dr. O'Brien's contract for a 4-year term. And our next meeting will be April 27th, 2011 at 8 p.m. at the Child and Career Development Center, which is in Coatesville. That services a lot of our children, and a lot of times we don't get the opportunity to see, besides maybe the CAT buildings and the areas within our buildings that we use, the IU. This is giving us board directors a chance to go tour it as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Barkas. Anything for curriculum and instruction?
No, there was no meeting held outside of the CAL, so there's no report at this time.
Thank you. Extracurricular, Mrs. Belinsky?
No report at this time.
Thank you. Finance, Mr. Freeze?
There was a budgetary workshop on March 21st at 6 p.m. which Ms. Perlmeyer and her staff were able to present to the board those that were in attendance of governor's proposal, the budget. Also, other standing members of the professional staff who were there to present to us the budgets for the line items. That concludes my report this time.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Legislative and Policy, Mr. Kleinfelder?
There was a Legislative and Policy Committee meeting held on March 21st at 7:30 p.m. in the Administration Room. Most of the items on the agenda had to deal with policies in the finance area that had to be updated to comply with current finance standards. They're on, most of them are listed on the agenda tonight for first review. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Hughes, you came through again. Thank you, Mr. Kleinfelder. Personnel Committee, Mr. Hughes?
No report.
No report. Pupil Services, Special Education, Mrs. Ettinger?
Thank you, Mr. Stones. Yes, the special, or the pupil services special ed committee did meet at the Cal meeting. We did have an agenda item that involved an overview of the special education department. I'm finished with my, here, I'm not able to get into my minutes, so you can view them. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ettinger. Technology Committee, Mrs. McMeekin?
No report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Transportation, Mr. Freeze?
No reports.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. That brings us to item 8 on the agenda, recommended routine matters. This is a consent item. The board will be acknowledging acceptance of items 8.1 to 8.12.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. McMeekin, second by Mr. Freeze. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That brings us to item 9, approval of routine matters. This also is a consent agenda item.
Second.
9.1 to 9.4, moved by Mrs. Belinsky, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. This brings us to item 10 on the agenda, board discussion. I think Mrs. Crumine has a board communication to share at this point.
Yes, I do, Mr. President. This is addressed to the Board of School Directors. The subject is Black History Month program. Dear board members, it was my privilege to attend the Black History Month program at the North Coventry Elementary School on Tuesday, February 15th. Mr. Days and Mr. Leibowitz shared the beauty and depth of meaning of the genre of Black spirituals. Additionally, they skillfully included regional historical connections to the music and ways to which the children can relate. The students should be commended for ways in which they were engaged in the questioning. The chorus and the orchestra should be commended for the quality of their performance, and the board of directors should be commended for supporting a program that plants seeds that can grow and enrich our culture. Thank you. I'm proud that several of my grandchildren participated and attend the O.J. Roberts School District. Respectfully, Dr. Beth Herbine with the Kutztown University of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mrs. Crumine.
You're welcome.
Board discussion? Anything else? Mr.
Mr.
Freeze?
President, yes. Going off Dr. Joel's 21st century school year, I was in attendance on Saturday to see the theater play, the OGL musical, and I have not been astonished by something that spectacular. So I think Ms. McIntyre and her crew should be commended for putting on a wonderful show. And it was wonderful that seeing that every single seat in that auditorium was filled and blocked out. It was nice to have an event here. We called it Saturday at Blocktown. Joel's wife liked that as well. I said that to her. But I really do think that the children did a wonderful job, and I'm very happy that they put on a great performance for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. I completely agree. Any other board discussion? Item 11 on the agenda, old business, of which there is none, brings us to item 12, new business. Item 12.1, approval of the following policies for the second reading as presented and recommended by the L&P Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kleinfelder, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 12.2, approval to eliminate policies. Approval to eliminate policy 120.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Belinsky, second by Ms. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 12.3, approval to eliminate policies and move to regulation as recommended by the L&P Committee.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Belinsky, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 12.4, approval of 2011-12 school calendar. Moved by Mrs. Meekin, second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh,
I get further clarification on what days will be used first in the snow days. Calendar kind of showed just highlighted, let me know in particular order.
I think there's a box down at the bottom of that
There is,
calendar.
but does not indicate that.
It's in the order, in the box.
Right here.
So,
The
on
first
the top
day
of the
will
box.
be June.
Yeah.
And
There's a caveat in there, though, in the
The
event.
snow
that there's-
makeup guidelines?
Yeah. And in the event there are 2 days, we would start those makeups in April and during the spring break.
so then if there's a third day, would it be the third day of April and then,
It would revert to the original makeup.
so the third day would be June, the fourth day would be the third day in April?
It would go June 8th, then on April 2nd, 3rd.
Hold on. I'm sorry, okay. 1 snow day, it's June 8th.
Yes.
2 snow days, it's April 2nd and 3rd. 3 snow days,
June 8th.
2nd, 3rd. So the only way we would go for that third day in April is if there were 4.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That was my,
All before March 1st.
all before March 1st, that's right. Thanks. Oh, can I ask one more question?
You may, yes.
I apologize. The election day, how are we gonna handle that? Are we having school in session for elections then? In November? No.
No, it'd be the big primary.
The May primary, that's what I'm,
May 15th is
Professional
Got it.
development.
but I think that it's not May 15th, right?
Presidential election year is the fourth Tuesday in April.
Question.
Right, on the 22nd, if it's the 22nd, then we'll have school.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that that's clear, that we will be having school during an election day.
Primary election, which has been consistent with past practice. Correct.
Okay,
Depends on how it falls. Right.
But what day is the IU actually holding in professional?
on the 15th.
May 15th.
Theirs is on the 15th.
So we have another day, we're supposed to be designating for students, the 22nd, separate department.
That's
No.
a regular school day.
It's a regular school day.
Next year.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we would be in school during that primary election day. That you didn't think it was the 15th.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Yes, Mr. Freeze.
I appreciate that the school last year was trying to correlate with the IU with the busing service and starting a week earlier. My professional opinion is I don't see that we need to have these days scheduled off. And we were saying for the last time. And
Which is,
the week, the whole week off of, there's a lot of single parents, but also a lot of parents that will have to try to figure out how to find childcare for that week. Number of students that may not take off during that week, I think it's very small compared to our staff size, to our enrollment size. So I would say that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Item 12.4, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Do you have that, Mrs. Grumman?
I believe it's 7-2, motion passes.
Motion passes, okay. Item 12.5, approval of the Chester County Intermediate Unit budgets as presented.
So,
Moved by Mr. Freeze, second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 12.6, 2011-12 elementary and secondary staffing recommendations as presented. Moved by Mrs. Belinsky. Second by Mrs. McMeekin. Yeah, we'll slow down.
Can you slow down for just one moment, please? I want to get the item recorded right for the budget, and I believe that was 8 to 1.
You didn't ask for nays, you just asked for all in favor.
So I've got that. Now can we move on to, did you take the,
Item 12.6.
did you already take that vote?
Yes, well, no, we have a motion and a second.
May I ask who the motion in a second is? Thank you.
Mrs. Belinsky and
Mrs. Belinsky, the motion, and Mrs. Ettinger, second. Oh,
Mrs. McMeekin.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.7, approval to grant administration permission to apply for state and federal grants. Moved by Mrs. Belinsky. Second by Mr. Hughes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.8, acceptance of the retirement of Dr. David Hemberger, Director of Pupil Services, effective August 15th, 2011.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Mr. Kleinfelder, second by Mrs. Bislin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Dr. Hemberger, I'm sorry to see you go. Been a really fun addition here, and weathered some tough times here, so thank you so much for all your service and all of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McMeekin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This brings us to item 12.9, which is the approval of the retirement resolution for Dr. David Hemberger, Director of Pupil Services.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Bislin, second by Mrs. McMeekin. I'm going to read it anyway, though. Resolution in honor of the retirement of David R. Hemberger. Whereas David R. Hemberger, as an employee of the Ojrsd Roberts School District for 15 years, has made a significant contribution to the students and the district. And whereas Dr. David Hemberger has given unselfishly of his time, talents, and energies in serving the youth of our community by performing his job to the best of his ability. And whereas Dr. Hemberger has made a great impact upon the Ojrsd Roberts District now and in the future. And whereas Dr. Hemberger's retirement is richly deserved and recognized as one of high honor and distinction. Therefore, it be resolved that the Ojrsd Roberts School Board of Directors, the administration, fellow employees of the Ojrsd Roberts School District express deep appreciation to Dr. Hemberger for 15 years of loyal service. We wish him good health and continued success in future endeavors. Be it further resolved that August 18, 2011 be officially declared Dr. David R. Hemberger Day in the Ojrsd Roberts School District, adopted by the Board of School Directors, Ojrsd Roberts School District on the 28th day of March, 2011.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'd like to make just a few comments. First of all, thank the board. This board, our new board, has come out
these volunteers who do phenomenal work, for the school district. So thank you. Thanks, Joel, for coming in under difficult circumstances. Many of us were here when you came. We gave you a 50-50 shot at making it. And you doing great. And I think all of us recognize that the contributions Joel's making is, he pushes us every day to be better, to work harder, to be smarter, and I think we've all responded. I think as administrators speaking for our group, I think we can say thank you, Joel. Our administrative team, wonderful work that you guys do, and I want to make a few comments, especially about my pupil services staff who are here, this evening. I have to say, I'm deeply indebted to all of you. I want to say a special thanks to Donna Brady, the best administrative assistant on the planet. She makes all of us look great. Mary White, who is the multi-talented person who keeps us in compliance. Mary's back there. Thank you, Mary. Everything you do, we couldn't get by without Mary's hard work. Our special ed managers, Joe is here, Wendy, Anne Marie, and Lynn. I mean, these are people who work so hard. I don't think people realize the kind of toll it takes to come in here every single day and do the kind of work that they're doing under, I think, sometimes very stressful circumstances, and they do it at a high level of proficiency and skill. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. You're doing wonderful work. You keep it up. And Joanne Recton, who I think is here as well. Joanne has done a phenomenal job with our wellness program and bringing good health, nutrition, and fitness to the school district. Joanne has been a phenomenal addition to our school district, and I will miss working with all of you. Thank you very much. Just a special mention to all the other scores of pupil services employees that we have in the school district, and these are our special ed teachers, our paraprofessionals, our school psychologists, our guidance counselors, our school nurses, our instructional support facilitators. And these are people who come to work every single day with the desire that maybe directly or indirectly they're going to affect the life of a child, and they do it every single day, and they do it without fault. So thank you for the honor of being your Director of Pupil Services for 7 years. It's been a pleasure. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hamburger. That brings us to item 1210. With the vote on the resolution.
Vote on 12-9.
Okay.
These little votes everywhere.
All in favor of the resolution, item 12-9? Opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to item 1210, approval to accept the resignation of Class 15 custodian.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Belinsky, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1211, approval and ratification to accept the following resignations and change in assignments as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hughes,
Second.
second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1212, ratification and approval of the appointment of certificated positions as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Belinsky,
Second.
second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1213, approval of appointment of the following non-certificated positions as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Belinsky,
Second.
second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1214, approval of 3 temporary Class 6 child-specific aids.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Belinsky, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1215, ratification and approval of the following part-time casual appointments as presented. Moved by Mrs. Belinsky, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1216, ratification of the appointments of individuals as presented to serve as game workers, clock operation, scorekeeping, announcing. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1217, ratification of the appointment of detention proctor. Moved by Mrs. Belinsky. Second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1218, ratification of individuals to the community swim program as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kleinfelder.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1219, approval to amend extracurricular and supplemental interscholastic athletic activities appointment. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin. Second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1220, approval of summer employment and appointments as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hughes,
Second.
second by Ms. Sparkus. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1221, approval to establish a student activity account. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin, second by Mrs. Belinsky. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1222, approval of the following student trips as presented.
So
Moved by Mrs. Meekin, second by Mrs. Belinsky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1223, approval of attendance of the following conferences as presented. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin,
Second.
second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1224, approval of homebound instruction for an 11th grade student.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McMeekin, second by Mrs. Bislin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1225, approval of settlement and release agreement as presented. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin,
second.
second by Mr. Kleinfelder. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1226, approval of award of bids as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hughes, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1227, approval to release B&E Boiler Works, Inc.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kleinfelder, second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1228, approval of award of bid for heating services. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin,
Second.
second by Mr. Kleinfelder. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1229, approval to renew professional services agreement as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kleinfelder.
Second.
Second by Mrs. McMeekin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1230, approval of non-resident enrollment for 12th grade student. Moved by Mrs. McMeekin,
Second.
second by Mr. Kleinfelter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This brings us to item 13 on the agenda, opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. Information, proposals, statements, and questions from individuals pertaining to items other than those on the agenda. Speakers, please indicate your name and township of residence. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes.
Thank you. Actually, it's an agenda item, but I wanted to say on behalf of the students and teachers at Ojrsd Roberts, I would like to thank Dr. Hamburger for his advocacy, for his diligence, and although I could not top the elegant recitations in the school board's presentation, I also wanted to send a heartfelt thank you from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. You may, yes. We'll grant you that.
I neglected to mention somebody, but I want to thank you for that. Edford, I couldn't sleep tonight if I didn't mention your name. and I want to say, Ed is he's been my right hand these past 7 years. He's an old friend of mine as well, and Ed does the heavy lifting a lot of times. Ed's somebody who I think very quietly goes about his work. He's a very modest person, but he does an outstanding job for us. And Ed, thank you very much. I apologize for maybe the first time.
I'm not going to do
Thank you, Dr. Hamburger.
Brian Bud, North Coventry Township. I just wanted to ask about the budget shortfall. It was stated that we're going to make that up. I just wanted a clarification. Is that coming from capital?
Transfers.
Would you like to address that?
I would be happy to address that. We're still working on that. I mean, we're still working on the budget. We don't, still a lot of work to do here on the budget. The April 11th town meeting, we will be presenting some cost-cutting initiatives. So, you know, be sure to attend that meeting in more detail. There is a proposal for a portion of it to be reducing capital, the annual capital transfer to the general fund, from the general fund to the capital fund by approximately $750,000. It's normally $1 million, which is about $2.2 million, for just next year, because of the ability that we've had to come in under budget on the capital projects. Make up that difference.
Good. I was confused. I thought it was going the other way from capital to general.
No.
Okay.
No, it is not.
Thank you.
That we wouldn't be allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Budd.
I would like to know how much or the cost is of the 65 new employees or senior citizens that you're being hired.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what the question is, Mrs. Biddle. What 65 employees?
I would like to know the cost of those 65 new senior citizens you have employed.
I mean, the
And total cost.
When you say new senior citizen, are you referring to the senior citizen Starfish program for the volunteers?
I don't know what you people call it. I just know you hired 65. I'm so proud of. I would like to know what they cost the taxpayers.
They are, for their donated services, they receive a $500 credit.
That I know.
That's what it costs, a credit.
That's all that about it.
Right,
If
they're
multiply
donating.
this by 65, that's what it costs.
Right, they're donating their services.
Yes.
And then they receive a
Well,
reduction.
what actually is there a money bracket put in, or it doesn't matter if you make 2 million, you still can come and get your $500? Or how
You
is that?
donate your hours back to the district, and you donate your time.
Because these people don't need it, but I have to pay for it. That's what I would like to know.
Is it a state program, Mrs. Carmine?
Pardon?
No, this is a district-run program. The state also has a program
Now, where
by
does
which
that,
senior citizens can request $500.
Mrs. Pickle, you could
Credit as well.
volunteer your time. You could get
We would love to have you.
I don't think that I am that hard up yet, but I think I don't have to pay for somebody that makes a lot more money than I do for other people. I think there should be a limit that they can earn, or their social security or whatever their job is, or specification as far as money is concerned. I think we people should know that if they're making an abundance of money and they still get the $500, which I don't really care, I think they all should volunteer and do it for nothing, because they're making me pay for it, and that is not fair.
Thank you, Mrs. Pickle.
Now, what do you have to say on that? You know, you're making it's not
appreciate
much money that we have to pay for them, but it is unfair to other senior citizens that might need the money more than the people that you guys hired and cannot come in because they're sick, they're in a wheelchair or something. So therefore, you're discriminating against other senior citizens. Because some of them make enough money.
We do permit other seniors to come in and work for handicapped senior citizens. So some people can work for others.
There's some can work and some cannot work, depends on whatever their ailment is. Or I don't think at our age, you know, when somebody makes a lot of money, that is money that the other seniors have today. I have a job already, so how many jobs do you want me to work at 80? But I don't need the money yet. Maybe I need it in a couple of years. But I'm speaking up for the other people. I hate discrimination. I hate people that have more money than 6 senior citizens together, and they're getting me $500 that I have to pay for. If it's only a cent or 2 cents or $1, that makes me pay more, but it is not fair. I mean, to me, it is hilarious when I read that garbage in the paper. I'm not kidding.
Thank you, Mrs. Pickle.
Barbara Guy, North Coventry Township. I guess it ends up being an agenda item, thanks to our clip. But I want to echo the comments that we've heard earlier this evening about the high school Beauty and the Beast. You know, my history's deep here, and I was in the very first musical ever presented on that stage. And it was not the
What was it?
It was Babes in Arms.
Richard, can you pull that up?
We have that up.
I'll work on it. You're not gonna find it. All right. I'm scared what you will find now.
Let me search YouTube.
Okay, nobody is at that time. But what I want to say is that the excitement that I need to share is that this is a community event. And to watch the children throughout our entire community come as audience members, to watch, I was there a sold out night, I was there Saturday night. I brought my mother, my 84-year-old mother, who just had the best time and enjoyed attending. I enjoyed watching students, I enjoyed watching graduates in the orchestra, I enjoyed the entertainment level. And I have really high standards, and it was really good. So I just need to talk about the fact that we need to celebrate all that we are doing in this school district to meet the needs. Do you know the needs we were met by the people working backstage, the artists, the people who had the organizational aspects? To make that musical go as well as it did took so many people that we never saw on stage. And I just want to congratulate and acknowledge our educational family again. Thank you.
brings us to item 14, board request for information. If there is no request for information, may I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Ms. Malinsky, second by Ms. Meekin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.